Welcome to part 2 of today's video. Um, where we left off, this is my final round game of the club championship, and the last move had been knight to d7 for black. So how does white respond? Well, in this position my opponent played h3, which is actually probably the only reasonable move in this position, as we've already established white is sort of running out of moves that he can play. And in this position, my simple idea was that the idea of knight d7 had been to prepare knight to f6, so that at some point I can exchange on d2, and then my other knight can leap into the e4 square, winning at least the exchange. So it's a very simple plan that, where I'll be able to convert the tension in the position and the lack of mobility of white's pieces into a material advantage. So, white's obviously feeling the pressure and lashes out with g4. So I considered, something like, bishop takes, pawn takes, and knight takes, but I think it really doesn't help black. So I just maintain the tension by playing bishop to g6. And it's quite difficult actually to come up with a good move for white now, and my opponent um, makes a fairly desperate move now with king to h2. And I think the idea of king to h2 was that he can free up this rook to come to the g1 file and hopefully get some sort of counterplay going on the g file and free up his position that way. But there's a very simple forcing continuation where black wins material here. So finally, the tension has been maintained, and now the timing is right, since black has been able to develop the knight within striking distance of white's position. So I continued here with knight takes d2. So naturally he wants to recapture with the knight, otherwise he's just immediately losing the exchange. But the knight is ready to leap in to the position now. So after knight to e4, white's going to lose significant material and is basically lost already at this stage of the game. So we're going to go through the remaining part of the game fairly quickly. I think the most important aspect was this kind of tension, and the psychological importance of maintaining the tension in a position like this, where you can almost put your opponent into a zugzwang situation and then just slowly improve your position. I didn't really have to do anything significant to you kind of increase the superiority in this position. So my opponent tried rook g1. He's looking to get some kind of counterplay, and now played knight to d2. And I've got some dangerous threats, such as knight to f3 check. So he really has to do something about that, otherwise he's going to lose his queen. So he ends up having to give up his rook. So rook takes, bishop takes, and now queen to f1. So because of white's pieces are all kind of focused onto the king side, white is hoping to get some kind of counterplay and overwhelm black before he has time to kind of regroup his pieces, which are now a little bit out of harmony. But a rook down is a massive disadvantage to try to overcome in a game, and I was able to hold the position fairly easily here. Alright, so now I decided to bring the queen back where it can keep an eye on the queen side and potentially come into this and use this edge 4 square. So I'm looking to kind of regroup the pieces and just coordinate and centralize the pieces. When you've got an advantage like this, you just really want to, centralize, regroup, and just assert your advantage gradually. You don't have to, there's no rush to convert your advantage, and just, patient, measured approach can be very effective. So G5, just preventing entry to A4 by the queen. And now bishop to A5. So I'm just basically preparing to exchange off another piece. I'm already, got a whole rook ahead, so the more pieces I can exchange off, the better. It's a very simple chess, just looking to get the pieces back where they can be effective on the other side of the board to deal with any threats that can arise there. So my opponent played bishop to G3 with the idea that if I play bishop C7, which I did, he can block with F4, but doing so just created more holes in his position. So after bishop to C7, and now F4, I just played bishop to E4. So now this bishop is just sitting in the heart of white's position, and because he's already committed to F4, he can never drive this piece away with pawns. And this could be quite dangerous for white because of the slightly exposed position of his king, that later this bishop could participate in a mating attack. So my opponent just played H4 in this position, so he's just advancing those pawns and hoping to get some kind of breakthrough on the king's side of the board. So I played F6, just trying to open things up and potentially get my rook into the game. And now we saw C5. So with C5, he's just kind of closing things off over here, which really doesn't do a great deal for his position. So I continued now with F takes G5, and now we saw H takes G5. So there's potentially some dangerous space in front of this king, and he could become vulnerable to an attack along this file. So I just took the opportunity just to force a break in the center with E5. Naturally, this F pawn can't move, or the rook is going to come down and win the queen. And if this pawn recaptures, then the bishop can just recapture. So my opponent now swings his queen over to H3. Just again try to get some counterplay going. So after queen H3, we've had E takes F4, E takes F4, and now bishop takes F4. So these two bishops are combining nicely now, raking down on white's position. And now queen to E6 check. So the queen is coming into the heart of black's position, but really everything is defended here, and black is really just risking getting his queen trapped, and that's what happened a couple of moves later. So here, king to H8, and then G6, which is a terrible blunder, allowing bishop to F5. So in this position, my opponent played queen to F7, and I actually won the game quite easily from this point of view, from this point in about another 10 moves. But I'm just going to show you a nice finish that I missed that is quite aesthetic, just to end the video here. A beautiful way to round off the game would have been queen to h4 check, because this bishop is pinned, and then king to g2, queen takes, king to f1, bishop, the light squared bishop swings to h3, delivering check, has to block with the rook, and now bishop takes, king to g1, and bishop e3, queen to f2, and then bishop takes. So that would have been a nice way to wrap up the game, and I was a little bit disappointed when I got home and realized I'd missed that, but I was getting a little short on time, and I just wanted to, be sure that I was going to win. Well, thanks very much for watching. That concludes today's video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.